Welcome to the Real Texas Radio Podcast with your host, Bronin. Thank you for tuning in once again, or if this is your first time listening, 1,000 welcomes. I've got a big show today on the Real Texas Radio Podcast. I've actually got a guest. Very excited about. Got a guest from Austin, Texas, and we're going to be talking about the similarities, the differences, the craziness. Which is a crazier city by measurement of city councilors, Austin, Texas, or Dallas, Texas? You're going to find out. But before we jump into this exciting discussion, if you haven't already, please make sure to hit that like button, 5 stars in any of those big streaming apps, Apple, Spotify, etc., and follow the Real Texas Radio Podcast on X at RTR_Bronin, RTR_Bronin. All right, now, you're listening to the Real Texas Radio Podcast. I'm your host, Bronin, just a fed-up taxpayer bringing you all of your Texas, local, and national news. All right. Jeff Bowen, thank you so much for joining me on the Real Texas Radio Podcast. I'm really excited to have this discussion. And for the listeners, Jeff is a candidate for the Austin City Council, District 8, that is Southwest Austin. And Jeff, I know you've run for mayor in the past. I characterize you as a watchdog, like a budget financial watchdog for the city of Austin. And I believe you also sued Austin over Prop Q, which was so bad and horrible. And thank God Austin voters saw right through it. It was going to be $100 million boondoggle tax hike for homelessness. And thank God that was shot down. And you're also on the Board of Adjustments. Did I get all that correct?
Yeah, there's several other things that I've done, but
Go for it.
The actually on the suing the city, it was actually suing the city over the way that the ballot language was written, because there had been, when they put the ballot language together, which I have had issues with ballot languages in Austin in the past, and actually even when Mayor Watson was running, when he started to run his first time coming back, I kind of confronted him in a meeting and said, I'm tired of the way the language was written. You know, yes means no, no means yes. And he said, oh, we'll deal with that. And of course that hasn't happened. But yeah, I sued them over the ballot language. But I have also sued them in the past over some property rights issues, along with 17 other members of the Austin community when they were trying to update our entire city processing for what they wanted to put the code for people's houses, so that they were wanting to take away our protest rights and also take away our notification rights, which we actually won that. That took probably about 4 years throughout the entire COVID issue when we did that. So.
Okay, and it sounds like Austin, just like Dallas, just like many other cities around the country, they're very interested in density, right?
Right.
And just density everywhere. And you know, I think a big problem in Dallas, and again Austin, many other cities, you put up all these apartments and you're just promoting transients. Nothing wrong with renting. I've been a renter. I live in a condo myself, but you know, you keep chipping away at the single family, and those are the people who tend to be most invested in what's going on.
Yeah, and look, being that I'm a property rights guy, and I've spoken to the legislature about this several years ago when the legislature was trying to deal with this. The legislature came out and they were going to set rules for all cities or counties that were over so many thousands of people, which meant really it was all the big cities, Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, Austin, El Paso, and Fort Worth included in that. And one of the things that I talked to Senator Bentoncourt's committee on this thing was what the rules are that you're setting out what's maybe different for Austin is certainly different for Dallas, and that there still should be some type of local control over some issues. And that was my main emphasis, was saying you just can't put a blanket order out there on this. But
Senate Bill 15, is that what you're referring to?
it's been two special sessions ago, so the numbers all kind of come and go. It was one of those where, oh, I remember what it was. He was Bentoncourt was also trying to make sure that the lot sizes were like they were like 1,000 square feet or something like this. And one of the things that I told him was that I said, my uncle's got a garden bigger than that in Rosenberg, Texas. And I said, you're because he kept comparing Houston. And so anyway, that was along those lines. But yeah, there were several things we talked about at the legislature during that session. So, but
Yes. And do you know, I think it's just like Austin as well. The rents have been falling in Austin, perhaps even more than Dallas. Rents have been falling here. I think there is 5,000 more rental units now on the market in Dallas than there were 6 months ago, like 15,000 units. And they keep talking about this housing shortage everywhere, and we need more apartments to fill.
well, and as you know, I mean, the whole situation, being that I've been in the building business for 45 years, I started out when I went into the Air Force, I started out working on airplanes and ended up finally transferring over into civil engineers and ended up being a construction manager for them and also a contract manager. So I have a background in building and you still have a small business doing some remodeling and those things, still doing that. But in Austin, when we had everything that's currently being built or currently available for all practical purposes was built under our old building code that they're trying to get rid of. But we had that influx of all these apartments that came in. I mean, a massive amount of buildings. And
Yes.
they are now just starting to finally finish up all of those back when money was cheap. So we actually are seeing some fall in rents, which is good. But what's happening is because we've got kind of a glut. And I just recently saw something just a couple of days ago that said that it was more expensive. And I think this came out of a San Antonio paper, but it was more expensive to purchase than it was to rent in Austin. And then, but also because of our glut of these apartments coming in, what people are not understanding is that older apartments are having to renovate and also having to add new amenities in order to attract customers, because people are apartment hopping. They're going to wherever the best deal is and go from there. And I mean, the market's done that. So
Yes.
it kind of gives a false illusion in the prospect, to me at least. And it goes back to just like you. If you wanted to live in a condo or an apartment, I mean, that's your right. But we also have, and I assume that you have the same thing up there, is we have different groups here that it seems like they want to shame us for wanting to live in a single family house, or those of us that own a house.
Oh, because
And
you cost more. You're getting more services because you have a single family, and yeah,
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 but those are my costs. It's not their cost, you
right,
know.
right.
So I will never own my house outright, even though my house currently is paid off, because I still have taxes and insurance. So I'm
Right.
constantly paying that. So it's to me, it's kind of it's not I guess you want to call it a false narrative. It's basically you're trying to shame me for owning a house because I have a little bit of a backyard and I have a little garden, whatever the case is. If my daughter's dog comes over and we have to dog sit or whatever, the dog can go in the backyard. I don't. And besides that, I don't want to live downtown. I have
Yeah.
no desire to do that. So, but I'm the bad guy.
Well, you know what? I watch a lot of the committee meetings where these bad ideas come out of in the Dallas City Council, and I think the current crop of councilors over the last few years, they've given away 25 tax abatements to developers for apartments. They have presenters from the city staff tell us, "Oh, well, we have a lot of people. Their budget is $700 a month for rent, or $750 a month." And nobody says, well, then it sounds like you need a roommate or maybe two, because you factor a condo fee and property taxes, you're over $700 a month right there. So these people are just not living in reality whatsoever.
Yeah, it's kind of like live within your means. I love it when somebody tells me, oh, well, I can't afford this as they're drinking from a $5 or a $10 Starbucks, or, they've got an over $1,000 iPhone, which, thank you very much. I used to have Apple stock, but that was great. But, or they're driving, they're not living within their means. When we bought this house, when we moved back to Texas in 1989, because I had a job teaching leadership and management for the Air Force, the market was in a toilet here. I mean, we bought a repoed house, but in 1989, I think the max amount of money we made that year was like $15,000, and
Yeah.
so that was on military salary, but we didn't want to live in an apartment. We had a house. We actually bought our first house in California when the wife and I had only been married a few years, and then that economy out there just went crazy, and we moved. But the bottom line is, it was our choice to do that. We bought a repo house. Could we have afforded something bigger or whatever the case was? Well, I didn't think we were going to be here in Austin over 4 years before we moved, and next thing you know, I'm here 37 years. But we lived within our means. We did what we needed to do, paid off the house, did all those type of things. So it makes it difficult to have a conversation with somebody that the city offers programs, and yet we don't see what are the true costs associated with that and what are the true outcomes. And one of my big issues has always been, show me, and I hate to use these terms, the return on investment. What are we getting out of this expenditure of money? If you're not showing me any things that we actually gained out of this, did it improve? If it improved somebody's life, show me how it improved their life. I don't mind helping somebody, but you gotta show me that you learned a new skill, you got a better job, you were able to do something here, versus just throwing money at it. And then we walk away and go, what did we actually get out of this process?
Well, I'm going to switch gears a little bit, talking about return on investment. The $36 million to upgrade the television equipment, I assume you're following that in Austin City Council?
Well, I'm following part of it only because I actually, as you said, I sit on the Board of Adjustments, which now I'm the chair of the Board of Adjustments. And I actually, because I go to City Council and do all these things and watch the videos, I asked one of the guys that runs the boards there. Now,
the video.
Yeah, well, he runs the presentations, the mics, all of the other stuff, the programs.
Okay.
And so I see him at several meetings and stuff. And I asked him about that, and he said, well, ATXN has got its own separate contract. They're doing these type of things. And so I was just trying to get information from him as to what was kind of going on. He said, there's a lot of contract stuff. And I actually, looking at more of this, I'm going, why do we need 4K? I mean, we have issues. We have meetings in Austin that are not even recorded or televised from boards and commissions, which brings up the question, well, why are we not doing that? What is really the need for this $36 million? What's the justification? So that is one of those things. I've started looking at it, and I'm going to shout out to ATX Data. I mean,
great account on X.
Yeah,
Great account.
I mean, between him and Jen Robichaud, I mean, they're constantly
Another great
stuff.
account.
And I know Jen personally. I mean, we met many years or several, I guess a couple of years ago.
And Jeff,
And
just for the listeners, Jeff just referenced a few of the Austin watchdogs, great accounts on X to follow, and just doing great citizen reporting and keeping an eye out on your tax dollars if you're an Austin resident. But go ahead, Jeff.
oh no, but they really there's times that I just got too many other irons in the fire, not being able to follow up on some things, but I really look at those. But those have been really very helpful in trying to track down some of the other informations. And we've had a tendency back during the Prop Q issue, we were all meeting in person, and just to talk about, and it was really kind of a grassroots formation that we did. And then everybody was kind of doing their own thing. There was really nothing really formalized about it, but we were all working together for the same cause, just to point out different features. So I'm back diving into this 36 million, but I did see a note that I thought it got postponed, but once again,
I
council
think
changes
so.
their mind. Yeah, they changed their mind like they changed their shorts. So, today is, but once again, thanks for people asking the questions that never get to be answered, which really kind of brings us back to you asking me to talk about, some of the things that we found and looking at. So,
Well, you asked me just before we started recording, is the Dallas City Council as nutty as the Austin City Council? And I haven't seen any $36 million for upgrading the TV equipment. And I watch your meetings sometimes and see the clips. It actually looks like you have better technology in Austin than we do in Dallas for recording, but I don't know that much about it. But what about the digital kiosks? Now they fleeced us here in Dallas first, the Ike City, but I think we have a cap of 100 up to 150. The bag man they have on the Austin City Council, he was, oh no, we need 300-400 of these digital kiosks all over the place, and he got pushback from one guy. Is it D10, Mark Duchin?
yeah, no, actually Mike Siegel pushed back on some of it because of neighborhoods. Mark Duchin, which I knew Mark way before he was a council member. We were friends. But they were trying to keep them out of neighborhoods, and that failed miserably, but at least it got that. But that whole digital issue, for those that really never paid much attention to it, Austin is going to get these digital kiosks that are in several other cities. And there's a lot of
Coming to
information out
Dallas.
there. Yes, well, coming to Austin too. That these actually there's cameras within these kiosks. There's some big screens, they're like big screen TVs that are kind of sitting up underneath there. It automatically picks up on your Wi-Fi. It also has a camera that looks at you and says, oh, you're this or that. And then it starts altering ads towards you based upon what they assume your age is, your race, whatever the case is. So the funny thing about this is that when it first came out, there were people that were showing out some of the issues that had happened in other major cities, New York, LA, whatever. The city, and most people don't realize this, is that the city actually, they were revising their billboard, their big billboard regulations.
Ordinances, or yeah.
Yeah, the ordinances on that, in which Austin is kind of unique in that you can only have a billboard for a certain amount of time before it has to be grandfathered and be done away with. It's like a 25-year deal, because they're very conscious of what the atmosphere, or trying to keep down the pollution, whatever. And we actually have an ordinance in our hill country that you can't have billboards in the hill country area around town. And we see several of these on the Board of Adjustments when it comes to signage and those type of things. But so the city, we have a financial issue here, as most people.
Oh, every city.
Yeah.
The sky is always falling every year.
yeah.
Tough year. Yeah.
That's right. They took the ARPA money and they thought they were going to get that forever, and they were spending it on all kinds of things. And now that ARPA's gone,
I thought COVID was bad until but these COVID dollars.
Yeah.
Yeah. They never
Don't
wanted
let
it
a
to go
good
away.
crisis go to waste. Please don't let a good crisis go to waste.
So,
I know.
and
So
your property tax bill keeps going up every year, but
yeah,
the budget crisis keeps
yeah.
it.
Well,
It's always worse.
that's a totally different issue when these people go, why are my taxes going up? Anyway, but so the city decided, well, let's do this for the visitors that come to town, which ties back into our hot tax too. But I mean, it's all
Right.
interconnected when you look at it.
None
And
of them are
so
going to have a cell phone, so they're going to need a digital kiosk to find out where the restaurant is, right?
Exactly. And so the city decided that the city of Austin said, well, through our economic development department, which is right under the city manager, they have their own manager for economic development, which the guy's pretty smart. I've listened to him. And so these digital kiosks, this company came and says, oh, yeah, we can set these up so that people can come up there and go, well, we want to find this. And it will have local stuff, that's right there with them and trying to advertise those type of issues. And we're going to collect this data, which they really didn't tell. And they promised the city, as a minimum, they'll get $2 million a year for doing this. And so,
Revenue generating. That's how they.
correct,
We
it's
need
revenue.
money. Yeah.
That's right. So let's connect the dots. So when this issue came to the Planning Commission, I happened to watch the video on that, and they were talking about it. And actually, the Planning Commission, which is extremely concerning to me.
Oh yeah.
I now sit on the Planning Commission as an ex officio for the Board of Adjustments. They wouldn't even take it up. They were having issues with it. So it's like, and they got a presentation talking about it. And so it got pushed aside. They addressed the regular billboard issue, but they pushed it aside and put it off on city council. So the long and the short of it, when these kiosks came in front of the city council, there were several people that spoke up. And one of the questions I raised was, because this ties back into our our license plate readers and our cameras that we had in the parks, there was a big concern over not having these cameras in the parks for privacy issues, so on and so forth. And
Right.
in my variable 2 minutes, mind you, I just brought up the fact and saying, I'm confused. Tell me, please, what is the reason here that you don't want cameras in the parks for security purposes where we're having cars being constantly broken into? We don't want license plate readers because of a privacy issue, yet you want to do these kiosks with these boards on them, and yet they're reading things. And I said, oh, but wait, we're getting $2 million as a minimum out of this with a future of total of up to $125 million. So I said, so is it really about money or is it really about privacy? And they pulled that item. And of course, other people had also chimed in too. So the irony did not miss me, but there again, 2 weeks later, it came back and it passed. And, we were back to the same issue. So we have council members that go, oh, but it provides free Wi-Fi in certain neighborhoods.
Oh, right. Yeah.
You have a cell phone.
Look at it this way. Hey, the bright side, the homeless, they will appreciate the digital kiosks, I'm sure. Just what they need, more amenities for the homeless.
Yeah.
Anyway, I mean, what they did here, the bag man for the digital kiosks here on the city council, few, if any, are going in his district. They're going in my district. They're going in. So that's the strategy. You pick the councilor who it's not going to be affected by it, and his residents don't care. And it sounds like they're all going to be downtown, mostly in Austin.
Well, they're going to put them on the main bus routes too, because Cheeto Vela, that council member for District 4, he's all about this, going, oh, well, these people don't, and it's like, and one of the issues I had was also a safety issue, because if you've got these big things that are like a size of a 74-inch TV diagonally, I mean, they're big. What happens if it's at a bus stop on a major route and these things pick up a car and it flashes something at it? Is it going to distract somebody? So, I mean, there's all kind of, but the irony behind the whole thing, which nobody ever talked about, was, and I brought this up when they finally passed it. I said, it's amazing that we're now getting this, but we never had an ordinance to address it. You awarded a contract, and now you're trying to backfill it with an ordinance to do this after the fact. And that never got answered either. So it's, come on, guys. Be responsible.
They don't care.
Be honest and truthful. Yeah. So anyway.
They don't care at all. Let me ask you this. Maybe one kind of a tabloidy topic. There was a big shooting spree over the weekend in Austin. A couple of wayward youths. Fill us in on that story if you know about it.
Wayward, yeah.
Wayward youths.
Yeah. Well, as it stands, it's really kind of blown up. So it's a 15-year-old, a 17-year-old, and I don't know what the age is of the third one, but they're all in jail right now awaiting arraignment, which we're waiting to see how that's going to turn out. But they were doing drive-by shootings. They actually, one of the individuals, 17-year-old, he had a bench warrant out for his arrest because he had stolen a gun from they never said what place it was he got the gun, whether it was like a sporting goods place but apparently he stole a gun out of someplace that sells weapons. Okay.
Just for the listeners, Jeff, real quick.
He grabbed it. Yeah.
So I was just going to say that there were 4 different people shot and injured, no deaths,
Correct.
but there were 12 different shooting incidents and drive-by shootings all. Is that correct?
Yeah, they shot at 2 fire stations, one of them over in the west side of town, just off of Mopac, and then they shot at another one over in the southeast side of town. They shot a man in the back that was out walking his dog. The other people that got shot at, I think one of them hit the windshield or something and shattered it, but they chased these guys around town for most of yesterday afternoon trying to catch them, and it's been going on for a couple of days now. So now the mayor and the police chief actually and it's on ATX data, he's got the clip that says that they're saying maybe we should have, if we'd have had flock cameras, that would have helped, because these guys got captured in Manor, which is a little town just northeast of town. They have flock cameras. They picked up on the bolo. They caught 2 of the guys. Another one ran off. They finally caught him. So, but once again, they hijacked 3 cars. They've been out running around shooting. And so we'll see what's going to happen at that. At least they're in jail now, but that kind of goes back to the camera issue.
Right.
It's everything kind of interconnects. So,
well, your Soros-funded DA Garza, I'm sure he's going to throw the book at them per usual. We've got another one in the RDA here, outgoing in Dallas. He's got no coverage. Garza, I see all over the internet. The watchdogs on him. Our guy, Cruzette, he's lost to an even worse candidate who she was reprimanded by the state, Amber Givens, for during the COVID. She was on Zoom and allegedly she handed over judicial proceedings to her clerk while she was on the phone trying to get her Cadillac not to be repossessed by the bank, among other offenses. Yeah, so she's going to be our DA now, so I'm sure she's going to be real tough.
Yeah, and what's funny is even here during our last election cycle, and we had a guy that had worked on the district attorney's office, and he was running against him. He had left because he didn't like the way things were going. He was a Democrat, and then when then there was people who came out and said, "Oh, he received MAGA money." And actually what he was getting was money from different people that were wanting to support him versus Garza. And then that blew up. I mean, we actually had a guy running for city council that was actually the head of the NAACP for Texas, Gary Bledsoe. I mean, I know the guy. I mean, we've had many conversations during the election and before. Even his campaign got blown up when he was running against Mike Siegel in a runoff because he was told that he was receiving MAGA money, but he was receiving money because people wanted him to run, and they may have been Republicans, whatever the case is. So,
God forbid.
The extremes of what these people go through is just unfriggin' believable to me. So.
Well, Jeff, I won't hold you too much longer, but why don't you give us your pitch? What's you can frame it in like, what are the biggest failings of the Austin City Council? Tell us how you're different from your opponent. Is it Paige Ellis? Is that her name?
Yeah, that's one of them. Basically, I'm when I ran for mayor 2 years ago, I actually got kind of fed up. I've lived here 37 years, and two of the candidates at that time were lobbying me to support them, and I just couldn't do it because I wasn't seeing any change. And Kirk Watson was running again, which actually I'm Kirk Watson's appointee to the Board of Adjustments. So it's hopefully it's because of my background in construction and those type of things and activity. But I joined the mayor's race the last day. I ended up with, in 80 days, I ended up with just over 8% of the vote, but I wanted to change the tone of the music because I wanted some accountability, but I wanted an audit also. And looking at some of these different projects, that platform has not changed. I'm still looking. I want an audit. I told the mayor during one of the meetings at City Council, because he proposed an audit ordinance, that there was things in there that I liked. There was things I didn't. There's things we also have we're trying to get a ballot initiative, or a group is trying to get a ballot initiated to put it in our city charter, that we have to have an audit in there. There's issues in that I really like. There's some I don't. But so I supported that. My opponent, or one of my opponents, she is basically termed out. The city of Austin it passed in 1979 that none of our city council members or our mayor can have more than 2 terms. If you go through a petition, you are eligible. You have to get 5% to be able to run again. So you have to have a petition. So she's apparently trying to run that petition. She's, for practical purposes, she claims to be, that she worked for an environmental group. She honestly she worked for a environmental developer, so to speak. She has, that's her background. It's just that she worked for this company. But she's majorly about the parks and those type of things. But she has also she's also voted for a lot of the changes to the development code. She's
density,
very much into that aspect of it. She lives in an apartment complex, and that's her choice.
Right.
District 8 is mainly for the biggest part is mostly single family homes. We're one of the largest districts land wise. All of the districts are basically the same population wise, but there again, she's received a lot of her donations in her past 2 runs from the developers. I mean, that's all public record, so you can see that. One of the other candidates is she is with the fire, or she's with EMS. She is a commander with EMS. She's very progressive. She even says she is. She's now starting to come around about some of the densification issues. But there again, she's in EMS. She makes pretty good money there. She's also a nurse. But she just moved into the district in 2024, so she's
she's pretty
new.
Far left. I looked into her a little bit. She seems like a pretty far left character.
So both of them, when Miss Ellis ran against some of the candidates in her first term, one of the guys that I know, Bobby Levinsky, which is with SOS, great guy. There's things we agree on, a lot of things. There's some things we don't. But she beat up on Bobby Levinsky based upon the fact that she said, he just recently moved into the District 8 area. Well, he'd lived in my neighborhood, just moved to my neighborhood, but had been in the area for quite a while. But there again, it's all.
Yeah.
I've lived here 37 years. It's you're looking at things. I'm still running on the accountability aspect. I still want to audit things, but I also want to make sure that we're spending money wisely. Is this a want or is this a need? And I think those two things get mixed up. And even recently, the mayor's even come out and said, well, we need to make sure that we're balancing what are our real needs versus our wants. And so it's like, okay.
Yeah.
But somebody needs to be asking the questions. You want to do this program. What are you wanting to achieve from this program? And, if you can't tell me what you're wanting to achieve, then why are you bringing this? Because I'm going to ask you these silly questions. This is nothing but problem solving 101.
Right.
So it's going to be interesting. So we'll see.
Yes. And I know these Democrat city councils or Democrat monopolized city councils, they hate people digging into the budget. We have one or two counselors here in Dallas, and one of them, she's our budget watchdog. And I see all the other counselors just rolling their eyes. And, she's trying to point out, potential waste, fraud, and abuse. And they have no interest in it. And so thank God you've got a good citizen watchdog coalition down there in Austin. I see them showing up to the meetings and putting these people's feet to the fire, yourself included.
It gets to be interesting because when you start asking questions and they don't want to answer those questions, then that just leads to more questions. So,
well, to be fair, some of them, they probably have no clue. They don't know what a budget is. So they have no idea.
Yeah, and they spend like drunken sailors. And as one of the guys that I talked to on the local radio station, KLBJ, Todd Jeffries, he goes, now look, you're discrediting, drunken sailors. And I said, yes, you're right. I don't want to disparage drunken sailors. So being an retired Air Force guy, it's kind of like, okay, yeah, you want to watch that, how you do that. So
yeah. So anyway, if people want to support your campaign, how do people find you, Jeff Bowen?
Sure. You can look at our website is Jeff Bowen for AustinCityCouncil.com. My email address also is Jeff Bowen for AustinCityCouncil@gmail.com. There again, I'm willing to sit down and have a conversation with anybody. This is honestly, these are nonpartisan races. I'm not registered a D. I'm not registered an R. I'm a guy that sits in the middle and just goes, there's a lot of stuff I can support here. There's some of this over here, but what is this costing us? And we need to be asking those questions and getting more people involved.
Absolutely. I wish people focused on the local stuff and kind of just put the national stuff a little bit on the back burner. Because this is what you see. Your city council is in control of everything that you see every day.
Yeah, and actually, you have more say-so at your city level than you ever do at the state and the national level. I mean, let's be real honest about it. You can complain about all the stuff that goes on up there, but unless you're actually sitting across the table from your senator or your congressman or whatever the case is, in many cases, that's you have more control and more impact citywide than you really do, especially when it comes to your taxes, and trying to get involved with that and understanding where is your money going, why is it this, how much bond debt do we have, all of these different issues. So yeah, we're both fighting the same battles, whether you're in Dallas or whether you're, when our budget is larger than Dallas's and you're a bigger city than we are.
I just looked that up. But you know what? It's almost exact. The Austin budget is almost exactly the amount that Dallas ISD just passed. Almost 0% of the voters showed up to pass the $6.2 billion bond for 24 or plus brand new schools and other crap.
Yeah.
So,
and I bet they sold it. I bet they sold it on the aspect of saying it's for the kids. And
it's for the children.
It's right. And the Mino state is not giving us all of that extra money that they have. And it's like, look, I got a pet peeve, and it's called Robin Hood. As a construction guy, I've built projects under Robin Hood, and I saw some of the graft and corruption, some of that when it first happened. It's time for that whole process to be completely done away with and redone because it is so outdated. It's just been so manipulated. But we need to be able to have people that will have a conversation that isn't based upon D's and R's. It's based upon what are we trying to achieve here in
Exactly.
improving our education system. And that's what makes it different.
All right. Well, Jeff Bowen, best of luck in your race. Maybe you'll join us again
Yeah,
close to election
this is
time.
fun.
And yes, great. I really enjoyed talking to you, and I'm sure the listeners are going to enjoy the conversation.
Well, stay in touch, and you'll see me at City Hall sometimes when people put my video up there where I'm asking silly questions and not getting any answers. But
Keep asking them. Keep asking them.
Thanks a lot. You take care.
All right. Take care.
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.